Hey guys, welcome to the His and Her Money Show with America's #1 money couple. I'm Tyler.
And I'm Ty, and we're from hisandhermoney.com, where we're managing money, marriage, and everything in between.
Well guys, this is a new feature that we're bringing to our YouTube channel where we sit down with real people that are paying off real debt. And why would we do a thing like that? Because it's our desire for you guys to know that this can be a reality for you too. So it's one thing for Ty and I to constantly refer to our own personal story of becoming debt-free 9 years ago, but we want to give you guys some current perspectives from people who have recently gotten out of debt and how they did it. They share their tips, their insights, and their story in full.
That's right. And if you guys want to find more inspirational stories of people getting out of debt, and I'm talking about everyday people, I'm not talking about millionaires, I'm talking about hardworking people that are putting in the work to get out of debt, you can definitely go to debtfreestories.com and you'll be able to find out more stories there.
So this is going to be the first episode of the His and Her Money Show here on YouTube. And today we're going to be talking with Charles and Gia. And they're going to share their incredible story of paying off over $60,000 worth of debt.
That's right. You know, I love it anytime couples come on the show because, I don't know, I love it when singles as well too, don't get me wrong, but I love it when I see a husband and wife working together on one accord and they're able just to do anything that they put their mind to. And Charles and Gia did just that. And some of you guys may have heard of Gia before. She has a wonderful YouTube channel here on YouTube called Marriage and Motherhood. I will make sure that I will include the link to her channel in the description box below.
Well guys, we're not going to delay this any further. Let's check out Charles and Gia's story so you can hear the details of how they were able to make this happen.
Enjoy.
Hey Charles, hey
guys.
Gia, welcome to the His and Her Money Show.
Hi guys.
Hey guys, how's it going?
Hey, all right.
We're glad to have you guys on. You all have an incredible story of walking your way to debt freedom.
Yes.
And we know that our audience is going to be so inspired and so fired up to want to follow in your footsteps. So we're super excited to have you on the show. But before we get into the details of your story, can you guys do us a favor and just take a moment and introduce yourselves to our audience?
Sure. Well, my name is Gia from YouTube. My YouTube name is Marriage and Motherhood. And this is my husband, Charles. And, being debt-free is like the biggest thing in my heart. I'm so passionate about it. So I'm really excited. Thank you guys so much for having us on. Professionally, my background is in accounting and finance. My husband and I got married 6.5 years ago. And we were your normal red-blooded Americans, full of consumerism and debt, just like, most people who graduate from college and start a professional career. So that's pretty much how our story starts, but it ends, with us being debt-free. So I'm really excited about that.
Awesome. We're really excited to see both of you guys on the show today. We love it when couples can come on and can share their story. It's so inspirational to other couples to let them know they too can do this. So let's talk about the debt a little bit. Now, you all once had a lot of debt. You paid it off. Tell us a little bit about what the debt was and how much debt was it in total.
Sure. So it was your normal debt that keeps the middle class in the middle class, which is, car notes, student loans, and credit cards. I mean, we were just living normally like, okay, you get paid, you pay your bills, you save just a tiny bit, and then whatever's less you just spend, on whatever you feel like spending. We were just headed down that road. And it was fine for a little while until, and it was about a total of about 60 grand. And you don't look at it that way because you just think, oh, I'm paying my bills. It's fine. And you never look at the whole picture. And once you look at the whole picture, that's when it starts getting scary and you really need to do something about it.
So, I mean, like you said it a few times and you're right. What you all had as far as debt was just quote unquote normal. It's what everybody does. It's the type of debt that everybody racks up. So for you guys, I mean, what was it that made you say, you know what, this is, although it may be normal, this is not how we want to live our lives? What made you launch out onto this journey towards debt freedom?
Well, a coworker of mine who's now a dear friend, she introduced me to Dave Ramsey and Crown Ministries, and that was something completely foreign to me. I had no idea who Dave Ramsey was or Crown Ministries or anything like that. And she introduced me to zero-based budgeting, what her and her husband did. And it just blew my mind, like, what? People really sit down and do a budget like this? Like, it was weird to me. I came home, I talked to my husband about it, and he was like, really? I mean, what would you say?
I would say the crazy thing is, with her background and my background being in commercial real estate, and sometimes, dealing with budgets and things like that, forecasting, you invest a lot of time in doing things for, your employer or a client, and then your life is like on the back burner.
Mm-hmm.
I think sometimes you take it for granted. Like you kind of think, well, I do this for, a living, daily basis, quarterly, whatever the case may be. And you have that professional background. So you understand the numbers and how they work, but you really don't apply them to
real life,
your own real life
finances,
world.
Right.
And so when you sit back and look at it, like if I'm trying to cut cost savings and look at, how does variables and variances and look at cost savings for somebody else, I should be able to do it for myself as well.
Right.
And then you also see it's just the vicious cycle of repeating itself, like, why am I living check to check? Why, every 2 weeks am I only at X amount of dollars when, I can't account for any of this money, and it's breaking that cycle and, just looking at the long-term picture and the long-term goals that you don't want to repeat yourself or, in some cases, repeat a whole lifestyle, from previous generations. And a lot of people just don't have that, like she said, that knowledge or understanding.
Right.
Or in our case, we just didn't apply it to our personal life, which, fortunately we came around and saw the light. So
that's good stuff.
Good thing there.
So true, so true. So let's talk about the mindset that you two had to put yourself in to say, you know what? Let's just get this done.
Right. Well, I always tell people, and I've shared this with so many friends and family members, you have to work on your emotional relationship with money, because it's not just about the money coming in and the money going out. It's really an emotional relationship. You have to control your money and not let your money control you, or your perception of how other people perceive you have anything to do with how you budget. You don't need to care about what everybody else has or what the Joneses have. You need to just focus on your emotional relationship, getting out of debt. The credit cards, if you can't handle paying off the full amount at the end of the month, then you really just don't need to use it. It's really a mindset like, I really, like, for instance, we want to get our basement finished. We could easily go out and get a line of credit tomorrow and finish the basement. But I have to have that mindset like, now, do I really want to pay off, add another 10 years and pay off this line of credit in 10, 15 years? I'm just saving the cash for it. And, that's just not a road we want to go down. So it's about, if you delay your wants, they will come in time in the right way. So.
Agreed. So you guys came up with a plan. You got in the right frame of mind. Now, what did you do? I mean, to be able to come out of that much debt, I'm sure our audience is intrigued and wondering, like, what type of lifestyle changes and strategies did you all implement in order to become debt free?
Well, it was all about the budget. I mean, it was all about sitting down, making a budget, creating a system that works for you and your family, and being realistic, and not making decisions that make you go back into debt. You may pay off a credit card and then, something else comes up and you got to put it on another credit card. Changing that frame of mind, really sitting down, making a detailed budgeting for every penny that comes in the house, and every penny gets assigned a job, making your money work for you. That was the main thing that we did over the 3 years that it took us to pay it off. And once we did that, and it's like feeling like, a lot of times, I know I personally, when I was budgeting and we were really watching every penny, and we each had a personal allowance, and I'd be like, oh gosh, look at this small personal allowance. I work so hard, I'm not getting anything for it. You know what I mean?
That was me.
Both of us kind of went through that at different times of us paying off this debt. But then when I felt that way, I would open up my spreadsheet and I would say, okay, look at how far I've come. Look at how far we've come. We've got this much more. If we can just hang in there and stay focused on the end goal, look at all the money we'll be able to spend freely, at the end of this. So once we got through those, pits and valleys, we still, just made it through.
going back to the other one part of your question is, what do we do? I think she answered some of it, but the other thing we did was, we kind of laid out like, when we got married, I personally had a lot of credit card debt. It was probably me more so than you.
I had loans.
Yeah, a lot of it was, stuff for the wedding and things like that, and, car maintenance or whatever. I was never really a big spender, but in order to get to, where we are now, I think, we had to prioritize. You lay out all of your expenses, your credit cards, you see which ones are the highest balance. You look at the interest rates, and you kind of break it down from there as to where you want to go and which ones you want to pay off first. And it's baby steps. You look at one, and then you're like, oh man, we knocked that one out. And then you move on to the next one. It
makes you feel good.
Yeah, and then when you start knocking them down, and you start seeing that money that's going out, staying in and going into a savings account, and that savings account is growing, and these expenses are going down. It's reassuring. Yeah, we just recently got married when we started this journey, and the sacrifices we made. We weren't used to living with people. Another person.
Yeah.
You get married, and it's just and two single people. We were just. Had disposable income, so it was just like zoom, 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 and we had to like pump the brakes, like, hey, hold up, this is a joint venture here, and it's not like people say, oh, you have to get approval. It wasn't that. It was more so like, look,
we need to talk about it.
Yeah, we see other people doing things, and it's not going in the right direction. We want to go right, and they're going left. And, what really inspired us, like she said, was the whole Dave Ramsey thing, and kind of taking that, not say verbatim, but kind of making it our own and honing it to the way, that fits us, and that was a large part of our journey that got us to where we're at now.
Right.
So what were you saying? Did you read a book of his, or did you go to Financial Peace University as well?
Actually, we didn't go to Financial Peace University. We read The Total Money Makeover, and I would listen to his podcast like every day. I listened to his radio show. But, there are some things about Dave Ramsey that, I don't agree with his plan, because I follow other people like Clark Howard and Susie Orman and Mr. Money Mustache, and I kind of just took bits and pieces that I liked from those people and created a plan for both of us. For instance, I know Dave Ramsey's like, save $1,000 and then just put all of your cash towards debt. Well, $1,000 for someone with a certain amount of responsibility just isn't enough in a savings account. It just isn't for things that happen. And that's a part of our plan and why we were able to stay debt free, because we had stuff coming at us left and right. Yeah. It was like the devil saying, get back in debt, use your credit card. And I had to pray and just be like, no, we're not going to do it. Luckily we were building our cash savings nest up enough to cover these large expenses that hit you out of nowhere. Yeah. So,
well, you guys did great. I mean, it took you 3 years, you said, to that's bravo.
Kudos.
That's amazing.
I think that what you just said is key, because what a lot of people leave out with personal finance is the personal part,
Absolutely.
And they just focus on the finance, the math, the numbers, the interest rate, the debt amount, but it is personal, and you have to be able to come up with a plan, especially if you're married. Husband and wife needs to come together and say, well, let's do it like this, and whatever that plan is, like you said, you took some Dave, you took some Susie, you took some Mr. Money Mustache, and you all made a personalized plan that fit your personal situation, and that's why you all were able to have such success. And I'm curious though, I mean, you hear 3 years, $60,000, and you think, wow, awesome, that must have been a fantastic ride. But I'm sure there had to be a couple of obstacles, a couple of hoops that you had to jump through during this journey.
Right. Well, I named quite a few. Like, for instance, we're right in the midst of the middle, and then boom, our homeowners association called and said, you guys need to paint your house. That was $3,000. We just had drop on that. Then we had a busted water main break at the house, at our rental home. That was $1,500. We just had to come. This all happened within maybe a matter of 3 or 4 months.
Yeah,
okay. It was crazy. And then my car would break down, and I'd be like, oh gosh, I just want a new car. I mean, my car is 10 years old. His car is 9 years old. And when something would happen with them, we would have to come up with the cash. And then I'm thinking, Well, I don't mind coming up with $1,200 because that's better than paying $500 a month for an entire year. So I will gladly give that $1,200. So we definitely had that, and it can get discouraging. And you think, well, if I just pull this card out and use that, it would be easy. But then you're just repeating the vicious cycle. You want to stay away from that. And then it encourages you when you're able to have that cash to just use for emergencies like that, because emergencies are going to arise. That's why I'm just really serious about people making a plan, making sure you have enough sinking funds, which are like short-term savings accounts, to cover any kind of emergency expenses that come up. Like that. I mean, of course, can't always budget for them, but just have a little bit of a nest egg in case something like that does come up, so you don't go back in debt.
Now, I heard you mention cash. Did you all adopt the cash envelope system while doing this?
Right. Well, yeah, we did, and it was really hard for half of us, but we did, and I would just take the cash out for the month. Use that, and once it was up, it was up, and I would say, listen, here's our money for the month for groceries. If you want to eat all month, I suggest you pay attention to the prices at Kroger and Publix, okay? Because he used to just go to Publix and just grab, whatever was on the list without looking at all the prices. Now,
in and out.
He looks at all the prices. Like, you can't just go and just grab the first thing you see. So, yes, we absolutely did adopt to that. And we still do to this day. I mean, I just think, especially with going out to eat and stuff like that stuff adds up so quickly. That's how you really can control your spending, by using cash, because you're less likely to spend it.
I think when we did that part of it, it was probably the biggest eye opener, because we're used to looking at Excel documents and, form spreadsheets, and you don't realize how much you're spending until you're like given hard cash.
Yeah.
And, she said it was hard for me. I just always forgot about cash because I'm so used to using my card.
Yeah.
And so when we adopted that method, when we were hardcore, it was just like, whoa, like this costs how much? Like, you consider and think, you think like, wait, do you
really need it? Yeah. You ask, do I really want this that bad?
Can I wait? Or maybe I can shop around and get it online or something like that.
Yeah.
Use some reward points from somewhere else. So you really start to get in a different mindset, and then it eventually becomes a lifestyle once you do it. Hopefully you don't revert back, but it eventually becomes a lifestyle, at least for us it did. So.
Love that. Now, what would you guys say were some of the important keys that helped you all maintain this debt-free journey?
Well, I think it's just staying on the path. Yeah. Staying on the path. I still do the same kind of budgeting that I did when we had all the debt. I still do that, now. I still didn't go back to our old ways. It's like literally like a lifestyle change, just like as if someone were to lose, 100 pounds, they wouldn't go back to eating, McDonald's and Burger King every day. They would stay living a healthy lifestyle. And that's how it is with money as well. Once you get out of debt, and you find that system that works for you, you stay on that system, you keep doing it, and you still make more and more plans and be more aggressive with your savings. And, when you have children, think about them and their financial success. So it's definitely about changing your family tree.
Awesome.
Talk us through that moment when you made that final debt payment. What was that like?
Wow, that was to Sally Mae, and I was like, "Bye, Sally. I'll never see you again." That was the student loans, because we had paid our cars off first, and then it was just the student loan that was lagging, and I just finally made that last wire transfer, and I was just like, "Goodbye." I was like doing the happy dance.
Yeah.
That's awesome. So what type of impact did this process have on your marriage?
Yeah, well, it definitely helped us to communicate, I think.
Yeah,
we communicate and talk about, everything. But when it comes to finances and making major decisions financially, we definitely come to each other with information. We do our own kind of research, and then we kind of piggyback off of each other, talking about it, and made us closer. We don't have any fights about money, thankfully, and that's really the number one cause of divorce is money. You know, you have to make sure that your spouse is on the same page and encourage them. And if they're not, because I get that question a lot sometimes on YouTube, is what do you do if your spouse is not, you know, doesn't agree with you or isn't on the same page with you? And I always say that lead by example, or show them by example. And then eventually when they see your success, they will adopt to the lifestyle, because I mean, it's healthy, you know, it's just really, really healthy. So
I think the biggest thing is, like she said, when we came into it, we were, in the financial sense, we were kind of like two individuals, and we weren't running our marriage as a corporation that we were both a part of. It was like she had her own business and I had my own, and you know, we just kind of did that. But you know, once we sat down and really looked at it, you know, we had to change a lot of our patterns, our spending patterns. You know, like I said, you know, you go from, you know, dating and being engaged to being married, and it's a completely different ball game. And a lot of people just don't make the transition successfully. And, you know, it was little things that make the difference. And an example would be like, you know, it was nothing for us on Friday night to just go eat. And then Saturday night, go eat. And then, you know,
brunch
go
on
to
Sunday.
the movies.
Go to the movies.
You know, you're just wasting a lot of money and a lot of time. And, you know, once you have somebody that's on the same page as you, it's easy. And like she said earlier, it's all the success that we've had. You know, once you start seeing those credit cards go and you start cutting them up, and
it's
you
like
see,
fuel on the fire.
Yeah, you're just fueling the fire, and you don't want to go back down that path. And you know, there's a lot of different articles out there about, you know, people and the debt that they're in, and regardless of how much money they make. You know, it's amazing that so many people are just one check away from being in a terrible situation. So
absolutely.
Now, being reflective a little bit, looking back, you know, from start to finish and everything in between, compare and contrast life for you guys now that you're debt free compared to when you guys were deep in debt.
Yeah.
I don't mind checking the mailbox now.
That's awesome.
Yeah, absolutely. I think when we were in debt, especially me, not so much Charles, but me, I was all about trying to keep up that lifestyle that I would see everybody else live, you know, and we live in the Atlanta metro area, and in Atlanta, it's always all flash and no cash. And so, especially when we were in debt, I'd be like, oh man, let me think about my next car that I'm going to buy, or my next nice purse I want, or bag I want, or shoes I want. And then once you become debt free, and then you can actually afford that stuff, you don't even want it. It's like, who cares? Like, you know what I mean? Who cares what the Joneses are doing because they're broke? You know, and when I see a nice car, I say, oh my gosh, I really hope they saved for cash for that. I can't imagine what that note would be.
I used to always see the versus like $2,000, and I'm like, why does she have it? Because she never has $2,000 in there. Yeah, it's like it's just one of those things you just have to think about. You know, when people get these cars and they do all these things to them, it's like, but you can't see it when you're inside the car. So you know, what difference does it make? So just getting out of that whole mindset. You know, it's really about you and your family, and probably another big kicker was looking to start and then having kids. You want to plan their success, at least financially, or at least give them a good start and educate them early and introduce them to savings and how, they'll probably laugh when they listen to checks, how they work and how savings works, and just start them off with the basics. Yeah. I mean, the checks will probably be gone by the time they're just preparing. So.
Right.
What would you say to that person listening right now, and possibly that couple that may be a little discouraged and they're inspired by your story and they say, I wonder, can we really do this?
I would say, I think a huge misconception is, oh man, I don't make enough money to get out of debt, or I'm living paycheck to paycheck. But we just read this article on the Wall Street Journal about people who make six figures who are in an extreme amount of debt, like barely making it. So I would say be encouraged. It's not about how much money you make. It's about what you do with the money that and making the right decisions to get out of debt. I know sometimes you look at your debt as a whole like, oh my gosh, I'm just never going to get out of it. But if you keep on chipping away at it, it will eventually be gone. Make good decisions, get on a budget, get a plan together. It's not hard. You don't have to have an accounting or finance or background or anything like that to do basic math. All you have to do is make a plan with your money and make good decisions. What would you say?
No, I agree. I think the biggest thing is stay focused.
Yeah.
Because like you said, we had some rough spots there, and it was very tempting to go back and use credit cards, and because like she said, everything happened like within 3 months, and it seemed like as soon as we had one thing wrapped up, there was another thing, and then there was another thing, and so just don't be discouraged, and it's not, don't use a specific timeline like, ours, because every situation is different. Mm-hmm. And I think, you'll have to, when you sit down and you're serious about it, you'll see like, okay, I'll start seeing the end of the light. I'll see the tunnel at the end of the light at point. It may not be a year or 2 years, but as long as you stick to that plan, you start chipping away. It's hard. Yes, it is. It's hard. But it's well worth it. It is well worth it.
Love that.
Wow. Thank you, guys. That was truly, truly inspirational. Can you take a moment and tell our audience more about your YouTube channel, Marriage and Motherhood, and how they can check it out?
Sure. My YouTube channel is all about, budgeting, of course, finances, but that's not all I talk about. I do, balance being a working mom, managing the home. I have a 3-year-old and a 1-year-old who keep us very, very busy. We do vlog a little bit. Well, at least I do. He's not really into the vlogging so much. But yeah, it's all about family, marriage, finances, and you can find me at youtube.com/marriagemotherhood.
So we'll make sure that we put a link in the show notes as well too. I do love her channel. As a matter of fact, tell our audience a little bit about, you created like an Excel sheet.
Yeah, I did. What I did was I created, it's the spreadsheet that Charles and I use to this day to do our budgeting. We do zero-based budgeting for the whole year. So right now would be a good time to sit down, look at what you think your income is going to be for 2016. I love that. Look at what you think all of your expenses are going to be. And of course, it'll change throughout the year, but at least get it down on paper or in Excel to try to give every dollar a name. And I have a basic spreadsheet that you can download for free. And I have a video on my YouTube channel that explains how to use it and how to budget. That will help you and guide you through that process.
Yep, we'll make sure we put a link in the show notes.
Awesome.
Yeah, great.
Charles and Gia, your story, man.
Amazing.
$60,000 in 3 years. You guys are certified debt destroyers.
Thank you guys for having us.
Awesome.
Thank you so much.
Well, guys, there you have it.
Yes.
Isn't that incredible?
I love their story.
I mean, $60,000 worth of debt gone, destroyed out of their life.
That's right.
They paid the price. They were dedicated. They were motivated, and they didn't give up. And you know what? You can do the same thing too. Charles and Gia are an example that this is real. People are getting out of debt, and you can follow in their footsteps as well. You too can become debt-free.
Well, there you have it, guys. Again, if you all would like to find out more inspirational stories of people getting out of debt, go to debtfreestories.com. You'll find a lot of information there, and you can knock out your debt as well, too.
Well, guys, that's it for this episode. Thanks for tuning in. And remember, if you want to hear the His and Her Money Show on the go, don't forget to subscribe to our podcast on iTunes for all you Apple users and on Google Play for everybody with Android, so that you can take this content on the go. Whether you're driving to work or whether you're working out at the gym, we are there for you. Until next time, guys. Peace.
Bye.